Hi, everyone, and welcome back to my podcast, Ordinary People Doing Extraordinary Things. In this episode, I'm thrilled to have a conversation with African volleyball champion Nora. Nora opens up about her incredible journey, overcoming injuries and setbacks, and the challenges that come with pursuing greatness. She shares how resilience played a key role in her success and how surfing became an essential part of her physical and mental recovery. Her story is packed with valuable lessons for all of us, whether you are an athlete or not. We often set goals but fall short because we don't push ourselves enough. And Nora's journey shows how grit and determination can elevate us to the new levels of success. And as you will hear, Nora speaks passionately and candidly about her path from Morocco to California and the crossroad she is now navigating as she prepares for the next phase of her growth. And I'm excited to see what's ahead for her. So without further ado, and with no more spoilers, here's my conversation with Nora.
Ça
va, merci.
What's in your mind?
Sorry?
What's in your mind?
In my mind? I don't know. I'm listening and seeing the waves right now, so surfing is in my mind at the moment.
So we met last time by the surf.
Yeah.
Finally get to speak together.
Yeah, in the middle of huge sets coming at us.
Yeah. It was nice though.
No, it was so nice.
But you mentioned something about having injured there. I didn't get it really.
I'm a little bit of a kamikaze when it comes to surfing. And the last day, remember, it was pretty big and choppy. And I went in with somebody's board and didn't have enough walks. And on one big wave, I popped up. My front foot slipped, and I fell from the lip directly on the side of my head.
On the board?
No, on the water, but it felt like concrete, and I heard my entire neck cracking underwater.
Oh.
And felt dizzy underwater. And I've gotten some bad falls surfing, but this one definitely scared me because it's so blurry for a second, and then I come back up, and then a huge set coming to go under, and I was like, oh my God, what just happened?
You know, I didn't realize that you started surfing only 3 years ago.
Only 3 years ago, yeah.
Well, only when I saw it in your social media.
Yeah.
That has been only 3 years. You surf good for somebody who started only 3 years.
Thanks.
ago.
Especially that I didn't surf most of the year this year, because I had the Olympic qualifier. So I was really focused, like beach volleyball training, lifting, just no other distraction. And for 6 months, did not surf at all.
Where do you spend most of your time?
I'd say California, but in the last few years, kind of.
You've been coming back.
Yeah, I've been coming back. Well, since my injury, basically, I wasn't coming back to Morocco often, except for competing with the national team. But I would come play with the national team and then leave right away because I didn't have a community anymore here. I left when I was 16 years old for volleyball, so all my friends were gone. Like some of them came back here, but I didn't know. And then I got injured during COVID, and right before COVID.
From volleyball, from playing.
From playing. And in the US, they couldn't figure out what was wrong. Like I spent 8 months in rehab and spent a lot of money and did X-ray, MRI, and all. And then I end up just being like, okay, I'm going home. Like I have an amazing osteopath here in Rabat. I came home thinking I was coming for a month or two of like rehab because I've never had like a really bad injury. My body's been pretty like tough, and I have high pain like tolerance. So I didn't think it was that bad. And then I ended up spending 1.5 years in Morocco in rehab. But it was bad. Like it was to the point where I couldn't drive for the first 4 months, I couldn't drive myself anywhere.
Okay.
I had to either have my mom taking me to PT or take an Uber to PT. But that's when I started surfing, actually. Well, not right away, because obviously I couldn't.
The recovery through surfing.
Yeah. Well, so my injury happened because my back was not strong enough. And so from hitting a lot, the head of my humerus came out of its place and then pinched my nerve and everything. So it was a lot of problems. And when I started surfing, like it strengthened my back much faster than it would in physical therapy because I'm somebody that has no patience, especially when I'm injured. So surfing, I'd spend 2 hours in the water paddling. So it's like 2 hours of a workout. Meanwhile, in physical therapy, I'm 45 minutes there and it's like a nightmare and I hate it. At least surfing, I was having fun. So it actually fast forwarded my rehab until I got good enough that I would surf smaller boards and tougher waves, and then I would get more injured than anything. But at first, it helped a lot with my injury.
Okay, well, I'm glad that you have recovered. You think you're fully recovered right now?
I would never be fully recovered.
No, you still have to. You always have to be careful on that side.
It's a miracle I could play again, and I was able to play again, and even able to win tournaments. Because at first it was over for me. I had a frozen shoulder on top of all the other injuries, and a frozen shoulder is usually you don't come back to being like a pro athlete after. So it's pretty good right now.
But how was it mentally during that time?
It was horrible.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I was like clinically depressed. I got home and I was at my weight of when I was 14 years old. Like even my Muslim Moroccan tough dad was like, "Are you okay?" Which is probably not a question I've heard him ask me ever in my life. But it was, yeah, I think it was just. I mean, and it was during COVID too, so it didn't help because you couldn't do anything. And I really I'm somebody that's always played sports, always. Didn't matter which sport. And not being able to do anything for 8 months and not sleeping because I couldn't sleep either because on one side it would hurt, on the other side it was impossible to sleep. So like, but like especially not being able to like spend my energy somewhere, which is sports for me, was so tough.
Okay.
Because that's how I deal with everything in my life.
How did you get out of it? Like mentally speaking, like did you get support? Did you
Surfing?
Yeah.
No,
surfing,
I did. Yeah,
surfing
at first. So I got home. And I was just doing physical therapy. And then one friend from high school reached out to me because it was during COVID. So a lot of Moroccans actually came home during COVID. And she was like, "Oh, so you're in Morocco? Like, I'm here too." I hadn't seen her in 10 years. And she's like, "Oh, let's meet up." I met up with her and 5 other friends from high school that I grew up with. And I remember like we spent like, I think 10 hours together just talking and all. And so I started like hanging out with friends, like reconnecting with friends and rebuilding a community in Morocco. That helped a little bit. And this group of friends, especially, like we started traveling in Morocco, which I had never done before. And that was like a big regret of mine. It's like I was so busy with competing and everything that I had never visited.
And you left when you were 16, so you haven't seen most of the country, I guess.
No, exactly. And when I was younger, my parents, I mean, my mom is a PE teacher, and when she was on vacation, she'd go to Belgium to see her family because she's Belgian.
So
and I'd go with her. Yeah, my mom's Belgian. And my dad was a pro athlete, so he didn't really get vacation. So we wouldn't like take trips anywhere.
What did he play actually?
Equestrian, horse riding, jumping. Okay. Yeah. So I did too. But yeah, so I started traveling with this group, visiting my country, and that's when I ended up in IMSU. Didn't even know that it was like.
Discovered,
yeah. And that's how like I was like, all right, I'll have to try then try it again one last time surfing, and then. That's
how it happened. Okay, so you had some help, let's say, from community, being around people and friends that I haven't seen for a while.
But it took some time. It was probably, I'd say it was probably like 6 months into my rehab.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like it was, and that after 8 months in the US, like just being.
8 months trying to figure out what's wrong.
Yeah,
when you came here, you had.
It was like being in rehab is one thing, like rehabbing your shoulder, knowing that you're like going through a rough patch, but it's going to get better is one thing, but not knowing what's wrong and going to see a bunch of doctors and all of them being like, oh, maybe it's this, and it's never what they think it is. That was rough.
You had any sponsors during that time?
Sorry?
Did you have any sponsors during that time?
No, I didn't. No.
Because usually like the sponsor would be given like a psychology support, like a therapist, somebody to talk
It's already just hard to find one sponsor, especially in Morocco. I mean, I just got my first one this year, which is a Ready natural skincare, and it's the first ever. I'm so grateful for it, but it's been hard. Like, and in the US, I cannot have sponsors because of my visa situation.
Okay. So basically, you started playing volleyball early, like a bunch of sports. That's what I understood.
Early-ish.
Actually, Hassan told me that your mom was his teacher.
Yes, so it's so funny actually, because so I'm in IMSU. I started surfing. Fun story. I got so addicted in 2 days that I spent 8 hours in 2 days after not doing any sports for months except rehab. I had almost a heat stroke. Like my friend almost had to take me to the hospital. Like it was the worst heat exhaustion of my life. So, but after that, so I didn't surf for a whole month. Went back to IMSU because I was like, I need to start again. But here, it just seemed so hard for me. I was like, I don't think I can surf here. And then when I came back from IMSU the second time, I had a few friends from Mohammedia, and I was like, all right, I need to find a place to surf. And they sent me to Buznica. And first time I go, I meet Hassan, and he's taking people to La Crique, and he's taking me to La Crique, which is like, not a beginner spot,
and he's
really.
so chill about it. He's like, come, then no problem.
But he did tell me, he was like, you look like an athlete. You can handle it. And then the whole time he was trying to figure out who I was, because he was like, I know you, but I can't like remember from where. And then it clicked. He was like, I got your mom as a PE teacher. And funny story, when I was younger, I told you I was hyperactive so into sports.
Mm.
Anytime I didn't have a class, I'd go with my mom's like students and do PE with them. Like I remember Saturday morning they would run for 30 minutes, and I would wake up on Saturday morning and go run with them, which is now I think it's insane. Like what was wrong with me running for 30 minutes on Saturday morning? But so Hassan remembered me because I was probably in one of the classes with him.
Right. So you pick up sport, you think, from your mom, dad, I guess both of them, because they're super active all the time. Yeah. And back then, did you know what you want to do with that? Like, did you know that like you're gonna be a volleyball player?
Not a volleyball player, but I wanted to be a pro athlete. Oh yeah, from the beginning.
You knew that you're gonna be.
Yeah, and I didn't know, but I wanted to.
You wanted.
I mean, maybe I didn't know. I don't know, because it was rough. Because volleyball is probably the sport I was the worst at. Like, I mean, I was not bad at it. I was good at it, but I was better at so many other sports, and it didn't work out. First, I wanted to become a gymnast. My parents were hard no, which that I'm thankful for because that's a rough life. And then I wanted to be a runner. My dad used to be a runner. I used to run with Hicham El Garouj, and that was actually where I think even my osteopath told me a month ago, like I have the muscle,
the body and the muscle for
a sprinter, and I was really good at it. I had a record when I was younger, 14 years old, for the 60 meters, like 8.20 seconds. I remember. I don't know if I still have it, but that was a sport I was good at and I wanted to do. And we had looked into it, and I wanted to go in the national center here, but I was also an equestrian at the same time. And the day I was supposed to go and do my last test to get in, I had a horse riding accident that put me in the hospital for almost a week. So then that was the end of my running career. But like, a lot of things like this like happen and end up in volleyball. But I don't know. It's
you
weird.
Don't know how you end up there. Well,
yeah, because
volleyball. Your mom is a volleyball.
No, nobody plays volleyball in my family. No, and it's so weird because I don't have the physique for it. But I don't know. Life.
I mean, kind of you do like tall.
You're supposed to be taller, yeah. But I'm feisty, so that makes up for my lack of size.
Right.
But no, a little bit taller, and even like I don't know, like in California where I live, I mean, kids start playing volleyball so early. Like, I mean, I work with kids like very young that play volleyball. I didn't even know what volleyball was at their age.
But that I heard was not like necessarily the best thing. So I came across this book called Range, Range, and the whole book is about how we should specialize a little bit later. And he gives example from athletes who play a lot of different sports like you did and specialize a little bit later, let's say 15, 16, then they do that. Then they become actually better. They are more likely to become the best at what they do. And exactly the same thing for business or school. Like he tells you don't get specialized already when you're 22 or 21 to do something. Use your 20s as a workshop, and at 30 specialize maybe at something else.
Yeah, I like that.
Combine all those things.
I like that in both words. Yeah, because that's what I did. So that makes me feel better about my path. It's not just about. I think for sports, it's two things. One, playing a bunch of sports like gives you. I mean, gymnastics helped me for like coordination and stuff like that. Definitely did not help me with injuries today, but that's because it was not managed well. Like the way I played sport when I was younger, like no warm up. I remember playing volleyball in jeans and flats. Like obviously all of this is making for the fact that now my body is hurting so much. But the fact that you play a bunch of sports, I think gives you good athleticism, like team spirit. If you end up playing an individual sport after, I think it's great. Yeah. And also for another reason, I think it prevents burnouts. I see a lot of people, especially in California, because that's where it's the most competitive for beach volleyball. Now you can play beach volleyball in high school and in college, but it's tough. Like it's your life. In college, I mean, I played indoor in college and everything is about volleyball. And I see some amazing players that finish college and don't want to play anymore. At 22, 23 years old, don't want to play anymore. Yeah. And because they're just like, no, I play too much. And I think that's so sad because that's when they can go pro and start traveling the world and they just stop and they change path completely.
Yeah. Well, I have a client that actually did the same. 2021, she stopped competing. I started working with her when she was 14. She is actually half Belgian too. Oh, nice. I mean, technically Belgian 100%, but her mom is Indian origin, but born and raised in Belgium. And at 14, we started working holistically, fitness, sports mental psychology with me. And their aim was that she gets to the scholarship in the US. So she wanted to score high in sports and jiu-jitsu, but also in school to get a scholarship in the US. And she made it. And the moment she landed there, 6 months later, she became a world champion in purple belt. So not only the scholarship, but also world champion.
Nice.
And then 20, she stopped.
Yeah, and
She's now-
especially U.S. like universities. I mean, I was definitely not ready for it. I was playing in France, semi-pro, and we had 1 or 2 games per week, max. And I get to the U.S. and I remember my preseason. I mean, again, I used to be a runner and I'm pretty athletic. Like I've played so many sports that I was like, I love doing like cardio and stuff, which is insane. And I remember just dying during my preseason. I was like, this is horrible. Like this is so tough. Like it was tougher.
Tough, okay.
Yeah, it was tougher than my preseason for running in France. And like I remember people throwing up. It was completely normal. And then I had like about 30 to 35 games in 3 months, and that's way too much, I think, for athletes, and it's too much for your body, especially like a sport like indoor volleyball. I was a libero, just throwing my body on a hard floor every day, like for hours. Like I mean, I had bone bruises everywhere. I mean, I think all my injuries right now are from this time.
From that,
because it's so intense. And I mean, I don't know in the U.S. because I didn't grow up there, but for somebody that grew up here and played in France, I was not prepared. Like my body was not prepared, my mind was not prepared for handling
all that
the
pressure.
university season. My first year, it was rough.
So you went there. You said you were 16. So you went there to finish actually high school over there.
I went to France first.
France first.
Yeah, finished high school while being in a centre de formation, like a academy for volleyball. And then graduated high school and then signed a contract in Montpellier for 3 years. Well, 1 year in one club, 2 years in another club, which is where I played semi-pro. And then from there, left for the U.S. with a scholarship, an academic and athletic scholarship.
So at what moment did you know that that's what you wanted to do? Like okay, I got a skill, I got a talent, I'm good at what I'm doing, and it's time to take it seriously or to give it a try or something like that?
Well, the decision didn't come from me, unfortunately. It came from my parents. So I asked my parents since my youngest age, like to go to centers in Europe for first being a pro gymnast, which then my mom had looked into it. I remember going with her to Belgium and stuff, and then they saw a documentary about how gymnasts like life is hard, and they were like, no, that's not a good life for you. So again, then running, track and field, my dad looked into it here in Morocco, and then that didn't end well. Then I wanted to become a pro equestrian like my dad. I mean, and I was good at it too. Like I have a national medal, but my dad kind of like didn't want me to do that for my future because it's rough. Like you have to have money, which we don't really have the money you need for that kind of career. And it was a rough career for my dad too, and he got lucky with a few things. But yeah, so he was like, he wanted me to compete. So I was competing, and he was coaching me hard. Like he was my hardest coach in my entire life. And so I was good at it, but he didn't want me to make a career out of it. And then I started playing volleyball in high school, and I was like, okay, well, this is it. This is my chance. Like none of the sports I've tried like doing professionally work. This one I want to do. And then my parents were like, no, we don't know anything about this sport. First of all, like that was not something that my parents were familiar with. And I remember looking up online a few places, and I found that most like pro academies in France, you had to be French, and I wasn't. And then we find this place that takes internationals. It's a different system, and so we reach out to them. I go to try out, not thinking I was going to make it ever. And especially I get there and I see the pro team, and my technique sucks because I learned in high school. I didn't learn proper volleyball. Like I don't even know the position on the court. Like they're so more advanced than me at those tryouts. But I'm the one that jumps the highest, that runs the fastest. They did the physical testing, and I just exploded the test from the pro team. Yeah. And I'm like 15 years old. So they're like, okay, we'll take this girl and we'll just like teach her. She has no base of technique. So like I was raw. For them, it was like a great opportunity. So I made it. And I remember my dad being like, yeah, you're not leaving for France on your own at 16 years old. Like Moroccan dad. He was like, no. And then he used to ride for Lelamino. And she saw me on TV playing volleyball, and she told him, oh, like your daughter's good. And he had he told her, oh yeah, she wants to go to France. Like no way. And because he said that, she was like, oh, you have to let her go. And like long story short, he let me go to France. So I moved there the year after, and actually it did not go well at all for 2 years. It was a really bad club. really like not well managed, and they kind of like ruined volleyball for me for 2 years until I moved to another city.
What was the challenge for you there?
Oh, they did not respect me whatsoever as an athlete. They basically they were supposed to teach me a position, right? And I'm small compared to your average volleyball player. And because one girl didn't come for a position, they decided to fill that position with me, which was the worst position I could play because you're supposed to be the tallest one. It's like the middle blocker. And everybody else had a position, so they just didn't want to waste time. And so they put me there, and I asked, I was like, no, I want to learn how to serve receive, how to defend. And I remember the coach, I remember this my entire life because it's like ignited a fire in me that day. He said to me, there's no point of teaching you how to serve receive because you'll never be good at it, like to pass. It's like, okay.
Oh, that's the coach.
Oh yeah, that's the coach. Oh, it was a horrible club. Oh yeah, the second year, my PE teacher, thankfully I was a good student, really good student at that high school, and the PE teachers from the high school had to intervene because of the way they were treating me. I mean, they got sued by 2 other players. So that was just horrible club. Like, yeah, it was just awful. And especially to treat like young athletes like this. I mean, I almost quit because of that club. But then I moved to another club in Montpellier, Le Cresse, and I remember them after the first part of the season they needed a libero, which is the best passer, so receiver. And they told me, hey, Nora, we're thinking of putting you as a libero because you're a good passer. So the 2 years I spent before, they were telling me I would never be good at that skill and didn't teach it to me. And then I go to this other club that's like more a familial club, like with older people too, and they saw this in me and put me as a libero, and then right away, like that was my position. So I wasted 2 years where I could have been good at that position and already played at a higher level, just because they didn't want to spend time with me, like, but not even spend time with me because I'm a quick learner. They just didn't believe in me, and I think that's just horrible. As like a formation center, centre de formation, not.
Yeah. So what made you not give up? Like, I mean, you said like when it's horrible in the US, when there's a lot of pressure, people are not prepared mentally, they oftentimes like stop at 2021.
Well,
what kept you going?
Multiple things. First of all, I'm feisty. Like it takes a lot for me to quit something, especially if I think I'm not done yet. And then I saw my dad like going through his entire life with nothing and still like being good at what he does and not caring about what people think or said, or like not caring that he didn't have the means and resources to make it, and he still made it. So that's like in me, that's in my genes. And same with my mom, she's feisty too. And then that actually kind of changed a few years ago. Like there's now a reason that makes me like not quit even more, and that's since I've started like winning medals from Morocco and having more like exposure, etc. I realized that I didn't just play for myself anymore, but I played for like young girls and boys. I mean, again, 2 days ago, like one little boy asked me for my jersey, and realizing like, okay, if I quit, what does that send as a message to those kids? And I talk about this message a lot because like there's like a few things like this that just really mark me, especially in my career. Last summer was a rough summer for me. I was supposed to play in the World Championship. I didn't. My partner got injured, so we didn't compete as much as we should have. We qualified for Bali, which you'll understand that pain in me. I've never been to Bali. I'm a surfer. And we win the African Beach Games, qualify for the World Beach Games in Bali. Keep in mind, this is the second time I win the African Beach Games. Didn't go to the World Beach Games the first time, which was in Qatar. We qualify, we're going to Bali. I'm so excited. I already told my coach, I'm bringing a board back with me from Bali. I'm buying a board there and I'm bringing it back with me. And then Bali gets canceled. And then World Championship, I can't go. And then Midtjylland Games get canceled for me because my partner is injured. And it was just like that the whole summer. And I had worked so hard that whole year, waking up so early, like 5:30 a.m. to train. And it was the year of my visa renewal, which I spent like 5 months working on my case, which is like a full-time job. It was a rough year. It was really, really rough, mentally, physically, everything. And then to not compete almost all summer. And I was like, why am I doing this to myself? Like I've been doing this for years, and it's just like
So that's when the why came.
Yeah.
And then that's when you saw a reason.
Yeah, I posted something on Instagram, and like just saying, like, sharing my thoughts about like what had just happened and like how I felt, and that I was thinking of quitting for a moment. And then this guy sends me a message. I mean, he wasn't the only one, but this one really marked me because I didn't know the guy, and he didn't have like any reason to send me this. Like, he's just did it. Send me this text. He's like, please don't quit, because I coach volleyball. Can't remember which city. And I have these youngers, and this young one always talks about you. She always says she wants to be like you, and if you quit, like, it's like, don't quit, please. And I was like, I can't quit. Like, no, like.
Yeah, that's the thing. See, when we have like une raison d'être, purpose, a why behind, you get us to go a little bit further, push a little bit harder. Yeah.
Especially when I've sacrificed so much of my life, like my entire social life, like in the US.
You had to prioritize training. You had to
exactly. I
prioritize
prioritize, like, everything is around volleyball. Everything I do is because of volleyball. Everything I do in life is to be able to train. And I haven't had much help, so it's like you're like, okay, I did all of this, and I'm just gonna throw it away. Like, no. And I had a few goals in my career, and I didn't want to stop until I achieved those goals. But that has changed a little bit in the last few months too. Like, I'm in a different point now. Like,
yeah, I wanted to pick your brain about that because you mentioned something about it in the water the other day. But before we go there, then so you were in France. The club was bad, and then what happened after the club? You were talking about how that club was really bad, and then what happened? When did you move actually from it out, and where did you go to?
I had a 2-year contract with them, which they tried to break too, like, which was completely illegal. Like, it was just, it was so bad. But so after my diploma, my baccalaureate, I had an offer actually from a semi-pro team in Montpellier, which I almost took, and then I was like, I was not in the right place mentally at all to like so. And then I had this offer in one league lower in another club, much more like in a small village, like I said, more familial. And I was like, okay, this is what I need, I think. Which I don't know where this, like, how wise I was to be able to pick that at that age, to be honest. But I'm kind of proud of myself for that, because it really changed everything in my career. And so I went to that club for a year. And like, for them just to tell me that I was good at one skill that I was told I wasn't. And so after that year, I realized that I wasn't as bad as they were saying in the other club, and I had potential. So I looked for an opportunity in another club that had a pro team and a semi-pro team. And then I had a few friends that played there. So then I transferred to that club. And in a year, we went to the U23 national championship. Like, we qualified. And I played libero, which is, again, the serve-receive person, defense person. And they were, so it's, first of all, the under 23 is the biggest championship, youth championship. So you have under 16, 18, 21, and 23.
And how old were you then?
I was 19. I was 19.
19, right.
Yeah. Or was it under 21? No, under 23, I think. Anyway, doesn't matter. But so, like, you already have pro, like, players and everything. I mean, the libero of the national team was there. The French national team was playing in that tournament. You have, like, really good players. And 3 of my former teammates from that horrible club were also playing with different teams. Like, they had moved also from that club. And I don't know, this tournament, like, kind of changed my career, because something happened. Like, that year I had to fight for my spot, and it was not easy. I mean, it was a good club, but it was not, like, nothing was handed to me. I still had to work for my position. And there was a younger that was playing the same position than me. And so she was 16, so they wanted to train her since I was already, like, older. And so it was a bit rough. And I played a few games with the pro team, but I had to really work hard for them. And then I played this tournament, and that was my chance. So I took it. I, like, just gave it all. And I played the best tournament of my life, I think, at that time, and got named best back row player of the tournament, which is insane, because, again, the French national team libero was there, so you'd think she'd get it. And it was definitely not something I had in mind that I would ever get, ever in my life.
Wow.
And I remember this former teammate of mine that also had a rough time with that club, coming to me, literally crying, bawling, or, like, saying, "Oh my God, Nora, I'm so proud of you. I remember how hard you had it, and how they treated you in that club, and to see you now, like, having this award after they told you you'll never be good at this specific skill." And yeah, so that was thanks to those two clubs I had played with in Montpellier that really changed my career. And so,
what would you say the difference in the second club? What were you, in their coaching style and their approach?
the second club was much more like a centre de formation as well, because you have different kind of clubs in volleyball. The one I played in the first one, it's like they're in the third division, which is still very good because you have about, I think, 6 divisions total, but on the third division, and they're more like older people with some young people, like, and it's more like a family type of like playing. The other club, they have a pro team and then a second team in like in the first, like in the national leagues. So it's more like where a young player go to play in that second team to get better and play pro later. So that's how you get to that level. And you can, so when you're under 21, you can play in both teams. So sometimes I had 2 games a weekend actually. I play with the pro team and then the national 30 team. And so
they were also more compassionate, I guess, more
in the second club, less. They're much more compassionate in the first one. The second time, you're there to get better. You're there, like, it's a little bit more cutthroat, but still very nice. I mean, I had this coach that was so tough, like really tough, like really, really tough, but like a good person as well. He was tough because he was trying to make you better. Not like in the first club where he was just tough just to put me down and not have me get better. So yeah, the second club is much more like a club formateur, trying to reach a high level, which is what I needed at that moment, but not what I needed right away out of that first club. So it worked out well, to be honest. It worked out well, and then after that year, I was like, okay, I'm ready for something else because I don't do well with routine. And then I decided to look into going to the US because I had a friend that played the same level as me, same position, in a club 30 minutes away, and she moved to the US. And I was like, wait a minute, I thought it was only for really, really good people. Like, we have the same level. She went there, I can do it too. So I asked her for information.
And you were already really, really good, actually.
I mean,
since you have had that award and
I guess now when I look at it, yes, I was good, but at that moment, like, I had gotten so beat down by some coaches for me, I wasn't good enough. And especially when you think the US, you're like, well, like Olympic medalists, like they're really, really good. You have to be in the top to go there. But no, you actually have different leagues too. So I remember I was in Belgium with my mom. I look up a few places like to go, how to do it. I could find an agency. And didn't tell anything to my parents until I had everything figured out. And I'm like, Mom, and I call her, like, she comes, she's like, okay, so next year I'm gonna go to the US. This is how I'm gonna do it. And she's like, no. And like completely thinking like I'm like just joking. And I'm like, no, I'm doing it. And then 1 year later I was in the US.
Excellent. So, but you get their support after all at the end. Like your parents.
Definitely. Oh yeah. But my dad, once I was in France, like, complete support. And actually going to the US, I thought my dad would be like, no, like that's way too far. And France, I could go home like every vacation. But no, he was actually super excited for me. I think after like I proved that I could live on my own. Like
in the beginning, they're all worried about us.
Well, especially I'm a girl, and a Moroccan dad. They're a bit worried. But yeah, once I graduated with mention bien at baccalauréat. So once he realized that I could like
take care of
do school, take care of myself and still be an athlete, because I think that was his worry too, not finishing school, because he didn't finish school. And that was like I remember growing up, my parents were really like tough about school. Like they'd take off a sport if my grades would go down.
You're the only child?
No, I have a younger sister, not an athlete at all. Not an athlete at all. Completely different. Opposite of me.
You get along?
Sorry?
You get along?
No, not at all. Not at all. Since we're little, we're so opposite. She's like the artist, not athlete at all. Not like sociable like me at all. Like kind of like reserved. We're very, very different. Very different.
Since you made it to the US, I guess you spent there at least 8 years.
11 now.
11.
Okay. Almost 12. Yeah.
So you spent a lot of time in the US.
Yeah.
Competing, training.
Yeah.
Working.
Traveling.
Okay.
Like I lived in North Carolina, and then I moved to California. So yeah.
What would you say are your biggest learnings from the time being there and training? Like let's say top 3, top 5, top 2.
Definitely resilience. Even though I already had to be resilient before.
Yeah, because you said like you had some early setbacks.
The US
Yeah, and then you bounce back every time. Yeah.
I mean, the US has been rough. Because I mean, it's competitive to start with. Like, it's, yeah. It was, university was rough.
You had to do university. What did you study, by the way?
So I did my bachelor. I already had a diploma from France, but when I got there, I did 2 years of my bachelor, business administration.
Mhm.
So I got the bachelor because I couldn't go straight into the master's, and then I got a MBA, master.
Business administration. I would have expected something like sports science. Yeah.
Everybody thinks, and that's what I was thinking at first. But no, actually, I love having the balance of sport and something completely different. Like,
Okay.
for example, I worked the summer in fashion at the Fashion Week in Milan, London, and France,
Right.
and I loved that. I
Right.
loved being an athlete and doing something that had nothing to do with my sport.
Completely different.
Yeah, I love it. It gives me balance. I hate being in the same environment all the time, and I like having things completely different and learning new things too that I know nothing about. So,
But the main thing has been always playing, competing.
yeah,
every
but
year while in it.
but I did want to have a business one day or something. I did want to have a career in something else than just being an athlete, but which I'm still looking for. But business administration, actually, this comes back to what you said at the beginning, which I like not like being specific in what you want to do, even in business right away. And that's why I took business administration, because at first I was thinking of doing sports management and sports events. That's what I like doing a lot. Then I realized that as an athlete, I cannot do that. I can either be an athlete or manage athletic events, but I cannot do both.
Can doing them in the same time.
Yeah, I can do it at the same time. And I was thinking, I was like, if I do study only sports management, it's really like reducing what I can do in my life later. So I decided to do business management, because I could manage sports events or anything business wise, and that's what I decided to do that. So it will be wide enough for me to be able to do anything.
Right. So you get to study in the same time while training and competing, moving from different places, and ending up in California at the end. Like you're right
Not
now.
ended up in California. I took myself there. That was wow. I feel like in the last few years I kind of maybe lost a little bit that feisty and thank you, and that I used to just not think and do what I had in mind. Thank you. I wanted to go to California. That was my dream. Like going to the US. I was looking for opportunities in California at first, but I got a scholarship in North Carolina. I was like, fine, I'll start there. And then when I was done with university, I had 1 year left on my visa where I could work. And I was like, I want to make it to California, but it seemed impossible. I mean, from North Carolina, it's the opposite. And I met the volleyball player in South Carolina that lived in California, and kind of helped me figure out things. And he was like, just fly there and see if you can find a job, if you can find a place. I knew nothing. I had never been.
Yeah.
So I went there.
Because you gotta work at the same time.
That year I could. So that year on my visa I could work. That was the only year I could. Not just I could, I had to. If I wanted to stay in the US, I had to work. Otherwise I had to leave. And so I went there, and then I realized how expensive it was. Which, wow. I was not prepared. I knew it was expensive, but yeah, it was insane, especially that area where beach volleyball is. So it kind of seemed like that was not going to happen. So I went back to North Carolina, and I was like, oh, what am I going to do? And I started looking for jobs in North Carolina, and maybe, okay, work 1 year here and just leave. And, I had other countries in mind. I've always wanted to go to Brazil, Australia. So I was like, okay, maybe this is it for me. And then some things happened in my personal life and with the work I was doing. Actually, it was pretty rough. That I just had to move out of the place I was in. And I remember this California guy, volleyball player, told me, if you ever want to move to California, you can stay in my condo. Just call me in advance, because he has a condo there that his friends stay at. So I remember texting him when I moved out of that place and asked, hey, is your condo available anytime soon? I'm thinking of going. I was like, you know what, I'll try, and then if it doesn't work out, I'll just go home. And I remember talking with my cousin, and she was like, just go, and if it doesn't work out, and even if you don't have any money left, I will fly you back to Belgium. Don't worry about it. Just go. Just try it. You're not going to lose anything. So I was like, okay, why not? He tells me his condo is available 5 days later for only a week, and then after that it's rented for the rest of the year. So that's my only window. That's my only time. And I remember I didn't even think. I was like, that's it. I'm going. So I had 5 days to just completely, like I had lived 4 years there.
Yeah.
5 days to sell all my stuff, packed all my things in my car. Like I had a small like sedan car, packed all my things. Like the car, you could not open the back doors because something would fall. And I just drove to California, like 5 days later. And I remember I just found people in the U.S. that I knew from university or from volleyball, and I made stops wherever I knew people. Because obviously you cannot drive the whole way. I mean, it's a 5-day drive.
No, you gotta go make some stops.
Yeah. So I stopped. Like, I mean, I remember definitely did not do the most efficient drive there. Like I went to Indiana first, and then Texas, then New Mexico. Yeah, New Mexico, and then California. I think something like that. And then I just went in California, had 1 week to find a place to stay and a job. And then, at first, I mean, it seemed impossible. I was like, okay, I'm probably not going to make it more than 3 months here. I had 3 months of savings where I could live. And then after that, I was like, maybe I'll have to leave. And no, I made it. And then applied for an athlete visa and stayed. I mean, it was rough.
I can imagine it can be super tough. At the moment, I have a client who is in the US. He's in New York, and he's Indian, and he got his talent visa, sports talent visa.
So we have the same visa, I think, because it's for all like talents, artists.
He just got there a year ago, and he's still in transition. Still in transition, as in like making things more stable, more solid for him. Yeah, and he has to coach and at the same time play. He's a squash player.
Oh, nice, cool.
Squash now is part of the Olympics.
Squash what?
It's part of the Olympics. It's like now became a part of
the next Olympics. Right, not yet, right?
No,
I did see that. I did see that.
So he's working towards that.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's a big journey, I can imagine. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a really cool journey. Yeah.
So I'm glad you made it in California and started training. You mentioned last time that you trained sometimes with Carly Wopat.
I did train with her for a few times, but not in a long time. So we were part of the same program, P1440, that was created by Kerry Walsh. I mean, the legend of beach volleyball. And same thing again. Like, I don't know how I made this program, to be honest. Like, I don't know. I think in my life, I got some really rough patch, but I also got some opportunities.
Yeah.
That were like just happened to be in my way and just happened to like change my life for the better. But we were in the same program for.
So that part that you just mentioned now is the part that like let's say my work is all about, is this adversity that we experience, that you experience, a lot of people experience, sometimes quietly, sometimes publicly, but they manage somehow to bounce back from it and redesign things or come back stronger and everything. So I'm burning to know what makes you who you are and makes you all the time come back and change things and make things even better. From back when you were 16 all the way.
There's been a lot of setbacks. When I think about it, it's like,
And I think in your lesson, or let's say in your story, and as other people also have stories, there's always something that people can pick from it. Like that young kid you said that person reach out to you to tell you about, they need to hear that, because they will have rough times too.
Yeah, for sure.
But they would need to know how to not give up and bounce back also.
And I actually realized that when I was injured, because I mean my injury story, I didn't post things publicly about my volleyball career before that. And I think it really started with my injury, because especially in the US, my friends, like I have a really good friend, Corinne Quiggle. She's an amazing volleyball player. She's a surfer too. She's coming to Morocco at some point. You'll meet her. We've been talking about a Moroccan surf trip for a long time. She's also been dealing like with injuries and didn't have the answer she needed in the US at first. So a lot of people actually were interested in my injury story because they saw me struggling with my injury. They saw me coming to practice and not do anything overhand, just pass. And because I was not going to just stop playing.
And that's the only visible one. Physical injury, because it was physical and you were off, but it was also mental challenges, I guess.
That I did not talk about much. That I still have a hard time talking about, especially as a Moroccan. Like here, especially when you're in the national team, sometimes they just don't care. They're like, no, like you're in the national team, you have to be tough, or you're in the national team, you're lucky. Like no, that pisses me off. But
And also, generally speaking, when it comes to physical injuries, okay, you get a wound, you're gonna patch it, you're gonna go to the doctor, do MRI, whatever. But when it's mental and it's not visible, it's not too tangible, yeah, get over it. It's gonna be fine. Or we don't just
Exactly.
even talk about it. We brush it off.
Yeah, exactly. And that's actually the hardest part for me because again, like I said, I have high pain tolerance, so I can push through injuries. I have. I mean, I played with my shoulder for a long time before realizing how bad it was. Before I was told like, no, like you should not be playing. Like you should not be doing anything right now.
And we do that also for the mental part. Yeah, you keep on pushing until it's like
But even while you're pushing, I mean, for me, like training, not being able to train at 100% is so hard mentally for me. And this is what's like right now is hurting me. And this is why I've been also away a little bit right now from beach volleyball, because I am tired of training and having something that hurt and having to push through. It's mentally exhausting. And yeah, it's like the mental part of being injured is I think is rougher than the actual injury for me. Because the injury I can really push through, except if it's like something like obviously where you need surgery and I cannot move. But like I've sprained my ankle so many times. Like I've learned to like play with the pain. It's fine, but it's knowing that you have this part of your body that's not working at 100% well, and that might also be an issue in your life in the future when you're done with your career. That's the mental part that's like that gives you anxiety and gives like that's like you have in the back of your head while you're training. And sometimes I want to go for a ball and I'm like, well, is that gonna hurt my shoulder? Like, am I gonna injure myself more and set back myself and not being able to train tomorrow or not being able to play this tournament at 100%? Like that's the part that is hard for me while I'm injured. Like the what if, like, can I push here? And it's not actually the pain because it's
so you do have that kind of questioning, like because some people think when we're tough and resilient, we don't even question things. You do question it. You do wonder if it's gonna stop me back. But like then what you do after?
I started with my shoulder because that was my worst injury.
So after having that questioning, am I gonna be okay? I'm gonna be this and that. Then you do something after it, which makes you keep going, which is like having perhaps an optimistic look on the things, or maybe taking care of that thing that
taking care of is what I had to learn to do. It's so I think the reason why I started really like having that mental like part in the injury is because that injury stopped me. Stopped me from playing, but not just playing, stopped my life completely.
A year and a half or something like that.
A year and a half. Well, I had just gotten my athlete visa that I had worked so hard for. That was a horrible 2 years of my life. Like really, really tough part of my life. I mean, I remember literally crying at a tournament in North Carolina. That was rough. Yeah, that was not a fun part of my life. And when I finally got this visa, I start training. I make P1440, that training program, which everything is paid for. You have amazing Olympian coaches. You have gear. You have like they even have photo shoots for you to try to find sponsors. I mean, everything is made for you. And I'm like, okay, this is it. I made it. This is it. And then I go play for Morocco. I get my first gold medal, international gold medal, at the African Beach Games in 2019. And like that, I made it. Okay, this is it. Everything I worked hard for, and then I play another competition for Morocco. That competition goes horrible, not because of our actual like volleyball games, but because of what happened in the competition and what shouldn't have happened. And I get injured at that competition, and then from there, just like downhill. And then that's where like I come back to the US. First of all, I thought my career was over. Like I didn't want to play anymore. I didn't want to see a volleyball court. Then like my shoulder is like hurting more and more. And keep in mind, I just paid $8,000 for a visa, for a 4-year visa to train. And at that point, I'm I think 6 months into the visa, and now I can't train anymore. So I'm still going to practice, but I can't do anything overhand. I remember playing a tournament, serving underhand, because I was like, I can't quit. Like I'm like, I did so much to be here and train. I'm not going to train, and also that's the only reason I'm here, to train. And then it went too far to the point where I cannot move my arm anymore. And
you're definitely very resilient. And I think I don't know. Have you thought about doing some public speaking, about telling your story? And
I've been told,
but you haven't done it yet?
No, I wouldn't even know where to start, to be honest. I know nothing about that.
Okay. Oh, there's some practices and strategies. Like it's fairly, I would say, easy to learn how to do it, But to do it is a different story, of course. But like to know what to do, I can recommend a great book called 5 Stars Communication. It's the guy that trains people to do TED Talks.
Okay.
Yeah, and normally you structure your communication with like a little bit of a background. Let's say, when I was a child, blah blah blah, and then it goes to a problem, and then like in the movies, like the dragon hits the castle, and then there's a solution. There's a somebody who comes and kills the dragon, and as a benefit at the end, there is this everyone is happy ever after. So a little bit of story,
The
problem,
problem,
solution,
solution,
benefit.
and then
Yeah,
okay.
and then by practice and practice, you can become good at it.
Okay.
You know that there's a lot of public speaking they do in corporate organizations to give the parallels between, let's say, life at sports or whatever you have experienced that time, and how that can be translated to business.
Yeah, I was
Also,
asked actually to speak at a
trainable,
seminar.
definitely trainable.
Yeah, but that unfortunately I was not in the right country at that moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's actually an idea. I mean, I'm a talker too, so
Yeah.
I talk so much.
No, I think you're a good storyteller. Yeah.
Oh, well,
It's just
thank
that
you.
structure, some of that little added touch at the
Oh
end.
yeah,
can
I
make
definitely
it
need structure.
happen.
Yeah.
So the
But okay.
thing that like I'm trying to pull in, like the resilience, like how did you get to become resilient? Because I do believe a lot of people think, it's talent. Yeah, they just know how to do it. But what I want to tell people, it's trainable thing.
Yeah, I think so. Well, in my life, first of all, yes, it's definitely something that I mean I've always had that
You had
fire
it,
in me,
yeah.
and I think that's from my dad and my mom, But also the fact that I did everything, like I built everything on my own.
Yeah.
Like my parents helped me a little bit with money at first, but like quickly they couldn't. I mean, in the U.S., not really, and even like sports wise, like I looked for opportunities myself. And so when you build everything yourself, like you're responsible for what you built. It's your project for like you're your own project. And so I think at that, when you're to that stage, like you have to be resilient because you can't quit on yourself. Basically, that's what I'm thinking. It's like if it would be different if somebody handed it to me and I decided to quit, whatever, I didn't work for it, But when you work so hard and you sacrifice so much of yourself and your life into a project, I think it's much harder to quit then. Like it's much harder to and so you become resilient by default.
And also you have purpose. You have a good reason.
And you have purpose, yeah.
Purpose. Like the impact that you want to create on younger athletes, perhaps. Seeing yourself also succeed in the goals that you set for yourself, that also can help with the purpose. You know what? How I help people sometimes train for resilience? Let them get into the ice bath.
So that I was gonna say, actually, as I say no, I remembered something, and so ice bath, yes, but I noticed, I witnessed something in the U.S. my first year in California, which actually California also changed my mindset a lot about resilience and all, because there, like people are very resilient too, compared to other places in the world. But I had this friend that played volleyball, and he went to do a training in Laguna Beach with a Navy SEAL that also trained, like, I think NBA players, and if I'm not wrong, Kobe Bryant at that time. And this guy was doing like resilience training kinda, and I remember being with them. I was playing beach volleyball on the sand. I was not doing the training with them because also that was way before I started surfing, and I was terrified of the ocean, especially there they have sharks. So, which is a funny story that I surf now. My mom still doesn't believe I surf, but they would go in the water, in the freezing water, like Pacific Ocean in the winter. Is this is nothing here. What we have here is not cold compared to there.
So cold.
But they would go full in without being wet before. They would do like conditioning on the sand and then go full in, and then have to do like apnea, like exercises. Like it was like kind of SEAL training and to like teach resilience. So yeah, like kind of like ice bath, which actually I did ice bath in college in the US, so I guess that also helped for me to become resilient. Because
back in the days they were doing it more for recovery practices, but now it's like become democratized through Wim Hof and Uberman and all the what they say 11 minutes per week, not at once. You can break it like 2 minutes today, 1 minute tomorrow, can help you build more resilience. Because you go into actually ice cold water and you're going to stay calm there during a while, but also you push your threshold into resistant cold or resistant pressure, mental pressure as well. Okay, so your secret for resilience is, I'd say, if I get it well, what you picked from your parents, you know, you have it in you also, like you're a fighter. It could be has to do with your astrological sign, but it could be also to do
Maybe
with just how you
guess
upbringing.
my astrological sign.
I think I overheard you saying something about August. I
Oh
don't
no, I
know.
wanted you to guess without knowing because I think like people usually guess easily
Yeah. And
for the feisty part. I'm a guess.
that's a Leo, right? Yeah, I guess. And my son is Taurus, and I guess also they are stubborn.
Oh, I don't know much about astrology. I should because I live in California
Yeah.
and everything is about
Everything.
astrology. But I know this the like
Yeah.
the traits of a Leo and like the feisty part.
So looking back to all these years, all these fights, all the setbacks and the comebacks, do you think did it worth it?
It's a rough time right now to ask me this question
Okay.
because I just missed the Olympic qualifier by nothing
Yeah.
when I really thought we were qualifying this year, which is putting my entire career in question right now. And I've had a hard time like taking like perspective looking into my career, and that's why I've been surfing so much actually to kind of change my mind. I needed a break. I needed something completely different because I'm still not ready to face what happened the Olympic qualifier, and it's really, I mean, it's really me making me doubt. Like, was it worth it? Everything I did? Because I qualified twice to the World Championship, but I've never been to the World Championship. I should have, but life made it that I didn't. And then I qualified twice to the World Beach Games, and I'd never been to the World Beach Games. And now I just wanted to qualify to the Olympics and be like, okay, at least I qualified to everything I could qualify for. And then I didn't. So now I feel like I didn't do everything I wanted to do in my career. And do I want to keep pushing and try? Or should I just quit now? And like, should I have quit before? And like, was the injury the universe telling me it's over? But then I won a gold medal after that. So I don't know. Everything is kind of like flowing in my head, and I haven't been able to. Usually, I need like about a month or two of like surfing and traveling to like empty my mind and be able to like, okay, now it's time to get back to practice, and now it's time to like work again, and I'm ready. And I haven't felt that yet. I'm starting to be back into like, okay, I want to work out and everything. But for 2 months, I would see volleyball videos on Instagram, and I'll be like, ugh, no, ew, I don't want to do that anymore. I hate it. I don't want to be around it. My friends be like, oh, come play volleyball. No, I don't want to at all. Yeah. Like I went to the South. I usually take my volleyball. We play in Eames One with like everybody in the South that I know is like, know I play volleyball. They came to cheer me on at the African Championship in Agadir and stuff. Like I have a good community there, and we always play volleyball. For the first time, I went there and didn't even think of bringing my volleyball because I just didn't want to think about beach volleyball. I'm starting to be like, okay, I kind of miss it. And like yesterday, actually, I saw a video of like somebody passing and then hitting, and I was like, okay, I miss it a little bit, but I don't miss having pain in my shoulder, having pain in my knees, and I don't know. Yeah, I think it was worth it because I mean, I wouldn't be who I was today without it, but I don't know if it's worth like pursuing more at that level.
How do you get the answer to this? How would you think what do you think you need to make a decision or to have an answer?
I need to figure out a few things. First of all, I think I need to be in California to make this decision, not here, because here is not where I usually train. Like usually when I play with the national team, even last year when I didn't play for 3 months, I think, which was huge for me. I'd never stopped that long except while I was injured. Because I was here and we weren't competing, but it happened last minute every time. So I didn't know in advance I wouldn't be competing for 3 months. And I didn't play much. I mean, I trained a little bit here in Scherets, but I didn't play much. And it was fine. And I thought, okay, maybe I'm done. And then as soon as I get back to California, I'm like, no, absolutely not. Like I'm ready to train again because that's my environment. That's where I train. That's where like my career is really. So I need to be there first. Like if I'm there and I realize that I don't want to do it, then I know I won't.
Then you have a no.
Then I don't have it in me anymore. But that first, I need to be around my coaches too. I can think of like a few in my head that I know will help me like have that mental clarity because they know me as a player, they know me as a person. And I don't know, honestly, I'm thinking of like looking for sponsors, like Moroccan sponsors. If I don't find like more sponsors to help me like pay for my training, pay for the things I need to be at the top of my level to compete with the national team, I don't think I'm going to be doing it at high level anymore. Because for multiple reasons, to be honest. First, I'm so tired of my entire life savings going into like my training and my visa, and like for me just to be an athlete. Because I'm in my 30s now, and like I need that money to build a life, and like all of that to come and win. I mean, almost every competition I played for the national team I won, except like this last one and one in 2019. Every other one I won. And I don't think it's fair at all.
Does it have to be Moroccan sponsors?
Well, I can't have any American sponsors. I need a green card for that, which I'm hopeful I get one day, but I'm not there yet. It can be European sponsors.
Yeah.
But for me, like if I were to have a sponsor, I'd like to have it be
From
Moroccan, because I play for Morocco. This is my life, and I'm like culture is Moroccan. But that's the other thing too, is that like people are always here to support. And what I'm going to say is a little bit maybe not really great, but I speak my mind. I don't lie, but it's hard to like represent a country when you don't have that support. Like there people always be like, oh yeah, I love what you do, but when it comes to like actually doing something to help me like be where I am or help me do better, then I haven't found the right people. And I see other athletes that don't have the palmarès I have at all, don't even have a African title, and I have four, and they get sponsored by like huge companies in Morocco, and I'm like, that's not fair. And it makes me want to quit too, because I'm like, why am I doing this? Like I really represent a country, and I feel sometimes I feel like the country is so behind me, but sometimes I feel also so lonely. And I'm like, I do all of this on my own. And granted, like a lot of people actually don't know that until I started talking about it on interviews and stuff, and they're like, wait a minute, like you do everything on your own? Like
I didn't know when we met in the beach the other day.
Most people just think like all is paid for and I'm living my best life. Oh no, it's a struggle. I'm on survival mode 24/7 in California, 24/7. My roommates, I live with a family, which actually changed my life a lot, because for the first time in my life I had people understanding what I was going through and seeing it in real life. But they have 2 kids, 3 and 5, 3 and 6 now. They have full-time jobs. They play volleyball on the side, and they have more of a social life that I do with all of that, just because of everything I need to do to be able to be where I am. And I always said, and that's a big regret of mine, I would be twice the athlete I am today if I just had money. If I had money, if I didn't have the worry of money, I would have gone to the Olympics for sure. Like at least once. Because I mean, sometimes I spend like weeks of not training during the year because I just can't. I can't afford it. And like, that's a huge regret of mine. Like not having the financial support.
There's an athlete that I look up to. Well, you probably know him, of course, because you're in the surfing. Kelly Slater.
Yeah,
of course.
I don't know that much about him, but I know, of course, Kelly Slater.
A part of what you told me about, in terms of having questions and wondering if you want to do it or not, you keep on doing it or not. It's also a part of his story. He quit competing at some point when he was in his 30s, mid-30s or early 30s. He's 11 times world champion. He's 53 years old, and he just won a world championship.
I know, it's insane.
It's crazy, right? But he stopped. Yeah, he had those questions. He was wondering if that's really even worth it to do it and keep on doing it and everything, for other reasons than the financial reasons. But then he came back, and he did it again afterwards. He like 2 times quit completely competition, but then he came back to it. So why I'm saying that story, because I do believe that is kind of normal. Not that I want to normalize it and simplify it too much, but normal to have questions and to wonder if it's the right thing.
Absolutely.
And sometimes not even wanting to touch the surfboard or the ball, and coming back, it can still be a choice. It's not like what will, let's say, bother me is when one person might think I can't because I am done because of the age, for example.
No, see that is, so people have told me this and it pisses me off. Like, first of all, I started late, so it doesn't matter what age I am now.
Yeah.
And also, as long as my body can do it and I can do it better than young people, then why does my age like matter? You know. But that's coming back to what you just said. That's what I'm thinking of maybe too as well. Is maybe I need to stop for a little bit, get my body healthier too, because I came back from my injury and straight into competing. So then I started having issues in my sacroiliac, my knees, that I didn't have before. So maybe doing that and, like prioritizing, like setting up my life for the future, and then maybe like being more comfortable financially, and then maybe coming back to the sports and doing it later. Because somebody made a comment to me this summer, one of my closest friends. She said, well, my coach also, one of my Spanish coach we had made the comment too. One of the, like, our best beach volleyball player in Morocco, men, didn't make it to the Olympics until his 40s. That was the first time he qualified, and he just went for a second time. And somebody, it gives me chills actually. Somebody told me the same thing, because for me, not qualifying this year was okay. Like that's it. Like I failed. That's it.
And that's it. Like, and I know someone also who started doing Ironmans at 41, 42, doing not triathletes, Ironman, like the full.
This is it, yeah.
So age is not really.
No, yeah, age is, as long as you take care of your body and your mind, age doesn't matter. I mean, Kerry Walsh went to like competing at the Olympics, I think at 42, so it doesn't matter. And I think won a medal. So yeah, it does not matter. But yeah, I'm thinking maybe I have a chance later, but I need to take a step back first. Yeah, and I again, I don't think it's fair for me to keep like having to sacrifice my entire life to play for my country.
I was actually just even talking about that recently in one of my posts. I don't know if you saw it. It's an analogy about the mountain. So not everyone, okay, so you say you climb a mountain. Let's say you climb it and arrive to the top.
I love it.
And then there is the climb down that not all of us are willing to do, because you see that there's another mountain higher up that you can reach out to, but there's no bridge between the first one and the second one. Sometimes there's a bridge. It's a push, there's some push or some luck or anything like. But sometimes we're gonna go down to find a way to climb up, and going down and thinking, okay, I'm gonna stop.
And I think this is and I saw that and I thought to myself, I think this is what differentiates like who can be a great athlete and who can be an average athlete, or just a great. I don't know if you've seen this this book, Relentless, from the trainer of Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan.
No, I didn't see.
You'll love that book. I'll send it to you. I think all the athletes I know in the US have read this book, and that's the book I read while I'm in competition. It's my therapist. I don't go to therapy. I should. I don't have a mental coach, but that's my mental coach, this book. And I think this book is the reason why I won the African Championship, which is actually another story, because I read something that really helped me get through a game. But
it's the willingness to go down and find another way to go up. And
exactly.
I don't know. I have the feeling that part of like the public speaking thing, if I would be someone, you would ask me, what do you think I should do? I would say, yeah, maybe you should give it a try, because it also pays well.
Which is funny, because like I don't know what I want to do, and somebody said something to me not too long ago that I was like, oh, that's a good idea, something I could do. And when you mentioned it earlier, like I was like, oh,
it's coming back.
No, but like I never thought about doing that. But I don't know why. When you mentioned it earlier, I was like, wait, that could be something. Because I like talking, first of all. I like talking. I've lived a life. Like, I've lived a lot of things in my life. So, yeah, why not?
Yeah, talking about these things, telling your story, could be for kids, could be for adults in the corporate place, office space. It could be online also for people who, let's say, broader people. And you can get paid for this quite well. Yeah.
Maybe I'll have to think about it. My only issue is like how to get started. Once I know how to get started, I don't have like, I'll try even if I'm going to fail. Like that's the thing with me. It's like, I don't mind failing. Like surfing, for example. Like you'll see me go into.
We fail more than you stand up.
Fail more than anything. Yeah. And I love it. Because I think when you fail, you learn something. So the only time I don't like to fail, obviously, is in beach volleyball. But even when I do fail, like it's rough. Like mentally, I mean, you can ask any like athlete that sacrificed their entire life. Like failing, and keep in mind, in Morocco, failing means having a bronze medal. Like, I just got a bronze medal, and I'm talking about me like failing in the end of my career, and still I'm on the podium. For me, that's failing, and for us in Morocco, that's failing in beach volleyball. Like, it's so rough mentally, but usually, not talking about this year, usually when I fail at a tournament, that night, or sometimes even when I'm still at the court, I'm already thinking, okay, next practice I want to work on this, because I never want to feel that way again. And that's, so I think failing is important. Like, I remember also one of my friends, we were in China for the World Tour, and she lost the game by nothing. And I remember telling her this, I was like, you know what helps me like get over these? So remember how you feel right now. Remember how much you hate it. And next game, when you're about to quit and you feel tired, or you feel like you're not good enough, and like it's too, like, remember that feeling, because that would definitely lit a fire under you. Like, I don't want to feel that way again. So I like failing because it does help for a lot of things. It's part of the game.
When it comes to starting point, the thing is that I found with the people that I helped, let's say, work towards, let's say, continuity to their career. The starting point, I would say, is to not think that it's an interruption of what you're doing. Let's say, if by playing volleyball, you're advocating for greatness, for playing, for pursuit of dreams, and that is something that you're doing indirectly. Just by playing, other people see you and want to do like
exactly. That's what I started putting my life a little bit more publicly.
By speaking and doing public speaking, you're still doing the same thing. You're just it's not a change of career. It's not a change of job. You're just still pursuing that same purpose or mission, let's say, or vision that you're passing to people. But the channel throughout how you're doing it, instead of playing, you're speaking.
I like that. I like that a lot. I'm gonna have this in my mind for the rest of the day, trying to figure out how I can make that happen now.
And then, so like that, let's say, the starting point. The first step one is to think, I'm not changing jobs. My job is to inspire people, is to get them to go to the next level. And I I will play also, and while also speaking.
I like that, because I don't see myself like just stopping being an athlete. I can't.
It's not a stopping. It's like a continuity to it.
I mean, you've seen me surf. Do you think I take this as
you're fighting up there?
I'm like.
Then the second thing would be, I would say, accepting the fact that you are wearing a hat of an entrepreneur, for example, because I think public speaking is a little bit of entrepreneurship.
But I like that. I like that.
I was talking to someone yesterday, and she what she told me is that it was hard for her to see herself, because she's doing things about mothers, like she's empowering mothers to become mothers and take care of what they have to do, improve relationships to themselves and to the other people. But when it comes to thinking of herself as an entrepreneur, as a person who was scaling a business, it was a little bit of resistance there for her. So I would say step two is okay, I'm also an entrepreneur. I'm also a public speaker, not just a volleyball player. Just between commas, it's not enough. It's not a small thing. And then working on personal branding, like branding yourself as someone who speaks, someone who tells stories, many stories and long stories.
I like that, because also, you know how many times I've been told I need to write a book with my life stories, which I thought about, and then I was like, who's going to read that anyway?
What happened? I'm sure I have the feeling will happen. And then after the personal branding, you know how to put effort in certain areas to train, build muscle, build technique, and so on. You're going to put effort into also outreach. Tell people, hey, I'm here, I do this, you need me.
And see, that's where I'm bad at. Selling myself or like doing like that. That is, and that's why it's always been like
a resistance a little bit with it.
Yeah, same thing with sponsors. I hate selling myself and having to.
We have to do it. You know who said that in an interview? Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnie. He said, like, you're gonna be good at anything you want to be. If you don't know how to sell yourself,
then exactly that's what happened to me. Like, I mean, I spent my entire career, and I was a good player, and just because I never sold like anything, and just kind of waited for people to reach out, or I wouldn't reach out.
I had a lot of resistance with that too myself. I promise you. Like, when I used to be an art director before.
Nice.
I was making. It was cool for some time. Also, in the beginning, I was making advertising campaigns, video, audio here in Morocco or in Sweden. And at some point, I was like, I'm done with it. I don't want to do this anymore, because it was just taking a product, making it look better than it is, and then sell it to people who doesn't even need it, maybe. So I didn't find passion in it. I never knew that I never knew anything about sales. But then when I became a coach and I ran out of clients because I used all my network already, thinking, okay, so what do I do now? How can I get clients? I had to learn those things. But I had a lot of resistance because the salesperson in my eyes is the person that knocks at your door and it's very pushy and
Yeah, exactly. And I hate being that person. Like, I don't ask for things, to be honest. You know how many times I've been told, for even just surfing, like, I see these influencers that have the same engagement as me on Instagram or less, getting to stay in those really nice hotels in surf spots. They barely surf for free. And people are telling me, like, Nora, why don't you do that? You surf, you're an athlete, you have like that presence on social media. I was like, because I wouldn't even know, like, I wouldn't dare to ask. I'm like, I feel uncomfortable even just asking. Like, I'd rather just go and pay for it. Like, just, yeah. Do you mind if I ask what time it is? Because I have
11.
Okay, I have physical therapy at 12.
Yeah, I also have to leave here at 30.
Okay.
Because I have a client in the city. Okay. Yeah, so we can talk about that afterwards. Like, if you want a few steps in how to get started with that.
Definitely.
Sales, also great books. I have great books about
okay,
that.
Then I definitely, I want that book and the other one you talked about just before.
5 Stars Communication.
Yeah. And then I have to finish The Obstacle is the Way, which I started reading during my injury. I actually had a really good time.
3 years ago, or 4 years ago.
COVID. 4 years ago, 3 years ago. I don't know. I don't count. It doesn't. I don't count.
Okay. Okay. Well, then, so what do you think is next? Next is figuring out, having things clear in your mind.
So right now I'm doing a lot of physical therapy just to check everything for my body, because once I go to the US, I don't have an osteopath or physical therapist, and I'm somebody that's hyperlax, so meaning my joints move a lot. So a bad fall can make can hurt my body a lot, and then I stay with that for a long time. So I want to make sure all my muscles around my joints are strong enough for me to be in shape to train again at a high level before I go back to California. Then the next step is to go back to California, probably in 3 to 4 weeks. Once I'm there, I need to check, like, my priority first is my immigration process. So I'm in the process of trying to get my green card. Lifting, getting my body strong, and then seeing if that volleyball fire is still there. Definitely still surfing, but it looks like there are no waves where I live at the moment, so we'll see. And yeah, I'm maybe getting back into beach volleyball, like, slowly, but also, and I know that's a lot. We said, like, what's first, but then I have so many things in mind. I'm not good at doing only one thing at a time. I can't do that. And also, like, working on maybe, like, life projects. So maybe right now, what you just talked about, like, trying to see how I can make that work.
I think it's possible.
At the same time. Yeah. So that's just figuring out my life, like, seeing if
it's always work in progress for all of us.
Yeah.
And you're not alone.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. And that doesn't, to be honest, these things don't really scare me. I kind of enjoy the process.
Oh, you've been through a lot more.
And exactly. I'm like, I've been through. I guess
the
worse.
secret is to come to these things with curiosity.
Exactly. I'm
approach all these things with curiosity, and see where the process is taking us.
And that's one thing. Like, I'm a very curious person, and I think that also helped me in my life, like, finding opportunities, because I always, like, look, like, okay, now I've done this, and I get bored of things, and I'm like, okay, what else can I do? Or, like, what about this? Like, what is this? And I think that helps to like, getting over things in life for me. Like, I mean, surfing for example, is like, I mean, I tried many times and it was just not for me. Like, it was like the universe telling me, this is not going to be your sport, stay out of the water. And then I still, like, was like, no, I'll try it again one more time. And then look, now it's changed my life completely. So I think it's good to be curious and try new things, because you never know where it can take you.
Any last message to the one looking up to you?
Yeah, I always have the same message, but I want to say something different today. I think it's just like, if you have something you're passionate about and you know you want to do it, it doesn't even matter if you're good at it. It doesn't matter. Just find a way to do it. There's always a way to do something if you really want to do it. It doesn't matter what people tell you. It doesn't matter what society tells you. It doesn't matter if you don't have the money, because I clearly did not have the money for a volleyball career in the US. It does not matter. Like, as long as you want to do it, like, just do everything you can, go for it. And it just has to come from you and nobody else. It doesn't matter. Even if your parents say no. Look at me. My dad is not going to let me leave. It doesn't matter. Just find a way. Find a way to do it.
Great message. Thank you so much for taking time
Thank you
for us to
for
talk.
having me.
Enjoyed this conversation a lot.
I did too. I think I need more of these conversations with you because it made me brainstorm about a lot of things. Yeah.
That's what I do usually. Get people to think a little bit.
Yeah, which I needed because I've had a hard time,
Right.
putting things into perspective lately.
And that's it. Thank you for listening or watching. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. If you are ready to build resilience, bounce back from setbacks, and reach your next level of success, let's connect. You can find me on Instagram, Coach Driss, DRIS, or schedule a discovery call on my website, coachdriss.com. I also organize surf and yoga retreats with a focus on personal development. My next retreat is actually happening on December 4th, 2024, and I'd love for you to join us. For more free resources on resilience, health, fitness, and living a purposeful life, follow me on Instagram, Coach Driss, and see you next time.